and welcome to this edition of Consciousness Raising Online. Today we're going to do a little paradigm shifting, some time traveling, because I want to take you back to 1936 and to the Olympics, that was the Summer Olympics, which was held in Germany. Because if I show you a photograph or a graphic of Jesse Owens, you know that photograph, you know who he is in general. But there's a lot we don't know about what happened, and especially about. See, there were 18 Black Eagles, and I'll explain that a little bit later on. And so I want to talk about the other 17. But first, I want to immerse you in Germany in 1936, because I think it's important that we understand what was going on then, and it might help us to understand what's going on now in the United States. In May of 1931, the International Olympic Committee awarded the 1936 Summer Olympics to Berlin. Now that was very important, because that was like a signal of Germany's return to the world community after being defeated in World War I. See, there was a problem with Germany. Every time Germany was united, was itself, it seemed like they started a war. They started World War I. Go back and look at the history. And so after World War I, Germany was isolated, and then they let them back in, and they started World War II. And after World War II, they split it up. They divided it into West and East Germany. And then a few years back, they reunited again. So, All right, but 2 years later, in 1931, so 1933, Nazi party leader Adolf Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany. And then he quickly turned Germany into a one-party dictatorship. Police rounded up thousands of political opponents, detaining them without trial in concentration camps. And the Nazi regime also put into practice racial policies that aimed to purify and strengthen the German Aryan population. And they also began a relentless campaign to exclude Germany's 1/2 million Jews from all aspects of German life. Does that sound familiar? Only it's not Jews, it's what the present residence calls the invasion of Hispanics or Latinos, because it's more than just Mexicans. He focuses on the Mexicans, but he's really focused on South Americans, period. Chancellor Adolf Hitler was the leader of the Nazi Party, and many Germans hoped Hitler would bring order to a nation that was plagued by economic depression, social unrest, and political instability. And of course, he brought in fascism, which was extreme nationalism. He called it Germany first, just like somebody likes to say America first, militarism, racism, and anti-Semitism. Boy, it does sound familiar, don't it? Let me run down just a little bit of the history. 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. That was in January. In February 33, he suspended freedoms of speech, freedoms of assembly, freedom of the press, and other basic rights, which it turns out were just privileges. March of 1933, same year, The first permanent concentration camp opens at Dachau. April of 33, Nazi organized boycott of Jewish-owned businesses. Same month, April 33, Jews were excluded from government employment, including teaching jobs at all levels. July of 1933, a lot was happening in the first year he became chancellor. A new law provided basis for forced sterilization of handicapped persons, gypsies, and black people. Let me say that again. You never hear this talked about. July of 1933. There was a new law provided basis for forced sterilization of handicapped people, gypsies, and blacks. By the way, gypsies, according to Dr. Cress Welsing and others, that was short for Egyptian, meaning they were considered not white. 1934, first major wave of arrest of homosexuals throughout Germany. April 35, many Jehovah's Witnesses were arrested throughout Germany. February 1936, the Winter Olympics opened at Garmisch-Partenkirchen. I don't know. I don't know where that is. I think that was in Germany. It's somewhere in Germany. That was the Winter Olympics. And then March of 1936, German troops marched into the Rhineland. Look it up. And in July of 36, about 800 to 1,000 gypsies were interned. That means they were put in concentration camps near Berlin. And in August 1st of 1936, the Summer Olympics began in Berlin. Now, there was a lot of talk and discussion around the world, and in the United States in particular, about whether the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, Germany should be boycotted. Avery Brundage, who is the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee, he was, no, we need to go. Now, he was a known racist, so he didn't have no problem with what was going on in Germany. And so there was a team, or the U.S. Olympic team did go to the Olympics. Now, one of the things that we kind of know about in 1936 Summer Olympics is about this brother right here. Name is Jesse Owens. And Jesse Owens was one of the greatest Olympians of all time. He won 4 gold medals. And he came back home and he was pretty much, he was treated like they always treated us. This graphic right there is when he went home to Cleveland and he was greeted by Clevelandites. But he went to a lot of different places, and a lot of times he couldn't even go in the front door. If they invited him to give a speech or something like that, a lot of times he had to go in through the back door, and they bring him in through the kitchen. He'd give his speech and then go right back out through the kitchen door and out the back door. He couldn't even stay at the hotels where sometimes they have banquets and stuff like that for him. So we know a lot about Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics. But here's the deal. There were 17 other Black Americans who went to that same Olympics. there were 18 black folks who went. And actually, of those black folks that went, collectively, they got about 25% of all the medals that the United States won. So I want to talk to you about some of them, but I want you first to watch this piece about Germany. Okay? And about what happened there, and then we'll talk about some of the people.
Brown's going well, but he's leaving it too late. That Negro's dangerous. Going into the bend, Williams will drive it home before they get into the straight. Brown's going to fight for it now. The Negro's got him. 20 yards from the straight. Williams is ahead. He's going away. Brown looks big. There's Roberts and Laval on the inside. Laval's going strong. Roberts is challenging him, but Williams leads. He'll do it. No, look. Brown's sprinting. Williams of America, and here's Laval, very happy to have taken third place.
The 1936 games were just too important to pass up for black people. Here was an opportunity on the...
In August, the Olympic Games are held in Berlin, which Hitler has transformed into the showplace of the Third Reich. On this occasion, he intends that foreign visitors be impressed by Nazi efficiency and the material achievements of his new order. The American teams arrive, ready to show what they can do.
Packed stadium and flag-draped cheering streets greet Chancellor Hitler on his way to perform the opening ceremony.
Ich verkünde die Spiele von Berlin zur Feier der 11. Olympiade neuer Zeitrechnung als eröffnet.
There's absolutely no question that African-American athletes who participated in the 1936 Olympic Games were forerunners.
Owens is ahead. Strandberg and Boltzmann are fighting. Metcalf comes up. Second, Metcalf America. Third, Ozendaal Holland.
Final of the 400 meters.
Yeah. Now, I hope that gave you like a little bit of feeling for what was going on there in Germany by the time the Olympics jumped off. And, you know, those some brave black folks, too. To me, them some brave black folks. But as I mentioned, there were 18 black Americans who went to that Olympics, not just Jesse Owens. And they were called the Black Eagles by, actually here in this country, we call them the Black Eagles. And I'm gonna tell you some of their names in a minute, but I want you to understand how deep this is, that the only one we kind of even know about was Jesse Owens and maybe about Ralph Metcalf, at least here in Chicago, we know about Ralph Metcalf because he lived here, became a U.S. congressman. But there was Woodruff, who won a gold medal in the 800-meter race. And he said, see, you have to understand that Hitler bragged about how the Germans were going to just crush the world. And even though Germany did win the most medals overall, after all, it was in Germany, right? But the fact that the black folks from the United States, they outdid everybody. And understand this, when I say that they won 25% of the medals that the United States won, that's phenomenal. Jesse Owens won 4 by himself. Cornelius Johnson, he won a gold medal. In the high jump, David Albritton won silver. Another medalist was one of Jackie Robinson's older brothers, Mac Robinson. He won silver in the 200-meter dash. Future U.S. Congressman Ralph Metcalf brought home 2 medals of his own, a silver and a gold. And so, in all, the 18 black Americans, including Jesse Owens, won 14 medals. 8 of them were gold. That was a quarter of the 56 medals won by the entire U.S. team. Sadly, none of them were invited to the White House or shook the hand of President Franklin Roosevelt. And here's some shots of some of the competing. That's Jesse Owens, of course, doing the what do you call it, long jump, because he won 4 medals in. Let's see, he won. Well, I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you what he won because I got a whole list. There's Tidy Pickett, which I'll tell you about. She is deep. Turned out, I didn't even notice she graduated from my high school here in Chicago. I didn't know that till I was doing the research on this. All the years that I went to Inglewood and all the research I've done on Inglewood, because I put together websites and everything about people who came out of Inglewood High School in Chicago, including the first black astronaut. He never made it into space. He was killed in a plane crash, a suspicious one. In fact, I live in the building named after him. Okay. Robert Lawrence is his name. He graduated from my high school, Inglewood High School. Nichelle Nichols of Star Trek, Lieutenant Uhura, she graduated from my high school. It's a long list of people. Oscar Brown Jr. and just a long list. But I never heard anything about Tidy Pickett. And so, there's Louise. There were 2 black women on the team, and they were amazing. But anyway, let me show you about Tidy Pickett because she just tickles me. She was so cool. Let me see. Hopefully you can open this up and see it. If you put it on full screen, you can see even closer. But yeah, her name was Tidy Pickett. And wow. She later went to Northern Illinois University and got her master's degree and other things like that. But she was cool. Tidy Pickett. I just love that name. Here's a list of the 18 people who went to the 18 black folks who went to the Olympics. Let's look at this list. It's Jesse Owens, Ralph Metcalfe, Mac Robinson. That's Robinson's brother. Jackie Robinson's brother. Cornelius Johnson, David Albritton, James Laval, John Woodruff, Archie Williams, Frederick Fritz Pollard, or Pollard. His father was the first black coach in the NFL in 1920. Okay, John Brooks from University of Chicago, Jack Wilson, Art Oliver, Howard King, James Clark Atkinson. A lot of times you'll see his name just listed as Jimmy Clark. Willis Johnson, John Terry, Tidy Pickett, and Louise Stokes. Okay, those were the 18 that went to the Olympics in 1936 and represented the United States. Okay, now let's look at the medals, the medalists. David Albritton got a high jump to silver. I think silver was second place, right? Cornelius Johnson, high jump, gold. James Laval, 400-meter run, got bronze. That's third place. Ralph Metcalfe, 4 times 100 relay. He got gold. So that was a team that got gold. 100-meter dash, silver. Jesse Owens, 100-meter dash, gold. 200-meter dash, gold. Broad jump, or long jump, gold. And he was on the relay team, gold. Frederick Pollard, he was 100-meter hurdles, bronze. Matt Robinson, 200-meter dash, silver. Archie Williams, 400-meter run, gold. Jack Wilson, bantamweight boxing, silver. And John Woodruff, 800-meter run, gold. Now, they went there, like I said, they blew away Hitler's "we're gonna crush the world." And especially because, just like there's a present resident in this country, dogs out people, black people in particular, and also brown people, but especially he says low down stuff about black people. And Hitler did the same thing. And he went over there, and I think you saw in the video I showed you earlier, he was too through. There's a graphic of the Black Eagles when they nicknamed them the Black Eagles when they came back. You see that? Negro heroes pile up 70 of 187 points. Yeah. Like I said, they came back, and here's what really hurt me. They came back to the United States, and the media and the government here chose to only highlight one person, and that was Jesse Owens. Now, here's why they did it that way. First of all, he won 4 gold medals. That's outstanding, right? But to ignore completely the other 17 would have given, if they had highlighted them as well, it would have given too much to black people in this country. So most black people in this country have no idea that there were 17 other black Olympians at that Olympics, and that they represented us, black people, as well as the United States, well against Hitler. Okay? And that's what made it so sad that, like everything else we do, we go and we do well. It's like after the Olympics, later on, we had to do what? We had to go to war, World War II. Black people were represented in World War II as well, right back over there in Europe. And, you know, it hurts because we give all to this country and it never gives back. You talk to black folks who were around after World War II, and one of the things you'll find out is that, you know, they instituted the GI Bill, which gave preference to veterans. It also made for educational money and money towards purchase of a home for mortgages. And over a million black soldiers, veterans from World War II, were cheated out of their GI Bills. Over a million. And what I want you to understand is not just those million, but how many of them represented families. So we're talking about over a million black families never got what we should have gotten collectively from the GI Bill, from all these black men and women who served in World War II. Then you look at Korean War a few years later, same thing. So the brothers and sisters, the Black Eagles, the 18 who went to the 1936 Olympics and in the face of the world embarrassed Hitler and the Nazis. Unbelievable. And the people of Europe and all the other countries that were there, they were just so impressed, not just with their athleticism, but in the humanity of these black people who came to that Olympics and set the world on fire. Whew. All right, I'm done. I just wanted you to have a few minutes of 1936 and part of our history that we don't generally know about. And as always, I say, no justice, no peace, no love. KNOW.